Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lori. Today I wanted to do a video on the quantum field or the quantum realm. So the quantum field can be very complex and it can be very challenging for us to understand because we stand physically in a third dimensional consciousness which is consumed by duality, right, wrong, good, bad, judgment, attachment, suffering, struggle, that kind of stuff. And so to begin to really understand the quantum field can be challenging, but the quantum field is also very simple. And the message that was coming in the last 2 days that I wanted to share with you is how to navigate our now moments, remembering and understanding that we're in a quantum field. So what this means is we are standing in a third dimensional physical form and we are being consumed by third dimensional consciousness, right? And this beautiful consciousness it's amazing. It's such a low density that it allows for so much to be experienced, right? And in that experience and all the consciousness that we can experience, there is a duality that is created. So there is a right and a wrong, a good and a bad, a positive, a negative. I don't like this, I like this. I don't want to be here, I want to be here, right? This feels good, this doesn't feel good. This is love, this is hate. I shouldn't feel hate, I should feel love. It's a higher vibration. Lower vibrations aren't good to feel, higher vibrations are good to feel. That's a judgment, right? So what happens as we are consciously and courageously moving into higher frequencies within our physical form, ascending into the next highest aspect of us, anchoring into the next dimensional field, is many of us are experiencing this shift in a linear, dualistic fashion. And many of us are doing it without even recognizing that we are doing it, which is okay because that's how we're designed to do it, because we're standing in this consciousness. We're standing in this third dimensional consciousness. We're standing in duality. So it takes practice learning how to recognize that you're in this quantum realm. In the quantum realm, which is all around us, we are floating in it. It holds everything that ever is, ever was, ever will be. It holds infinite possibility. It holds all consciousness that ever split from source. Basically, the quantum field is source's playground. And when anything splits from source, it becomes its own signature vibration, light, frequency, consciousness. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with any consciousness. Fear is a consciousness, pain is a consciousness, love is a consciousness, joy is a consciousness, struggle is a consciousness, suffering is a consciousness. It's all consciousness. It's all being experienced by an energetic vibration. And when everything splits from source, which anything that we are experiencing is a split from source, it's perfect. In the quantum field, it just is being its vibration. It's just its signature. And of course, when you start to slow down energy and consciousness, it gets into a lower vibration and a lower vibration and a lower vibration, and then you begin to stretch out the spectrum of consciousness that you can experience, and that's when you start to experience what we're doing right now, which is duality. And you start to experience the not so fun, what the human ego and mind would say is not so great, not so fun. From a much higher perspective, being able to feel those consciousnesses that we don't like feeling is a gift to a lot of higher dimensional beings because they've never been able to experience fear. Fear? What does fear feel like? Hate? What does hate feel like? Let me jump in and feel that. From a higher perspective, there's no judgment on any consciousness, emotion, thought, belief being experienced, being felt. In a quantum field, it all just is an expression of consciousness. That's what we're in. So although we're in a third dimensional realm that creates a linear tunnel vision of duality, we are in a quantum field. We remember the quantum field. We know how to be in the quantum field. And it allows for everything to just be as it is. And as you start to shift into higher frequencies, you begin to expand and open into the quantum. And it allows you to be in the now moment without judgment, without attachment, without suffering, without struggle. So, what does this have anything to do with our own individual unique ascension process right now? As we are going through our everyday moments, our now moments, and we are connected to the ascension journey, we are looking at the ascension journey as I have to move out of lower frequencies and into higher frequencies. That's duality. I have to feel myself in a love space as opposed to a fear space. That's duality. I have to anchor in or raise my vibration. That's duality. I want to, when I am experiencing emotions, thoughts, and beliefs that I don't like, I need to learn how to move out of them. That's duality. When you can stand in your now moment and look at everything that's coming into your space as just consciousness, that you're not doing anything bad or wrong when it comes up, there's nothing for you to do about it. If you understand energy and consciousness, everything is always moving. Energy doesn't stay stagnant, it always moves. That's the nature of energy, which is consciousness, which is emotion, thoughts, and beliefs. The reason that we as humans feel certain emotions for a longer period of time is because we attach to it because we're afraid that it's going to stay. We don't like it, duality. We judge it, duality, and then we're afraid that it's going to stay with us. Okay? We are afraid that it is us. We're afraid that we're not going to be able to get out of it, right? So we're attaching all these things to this one consciousness that comes up, right? Where if you were to step out into a quantum space and imagine yourself floating in the quantum field, and here comes a consciousness, anything, whether it's a person, a place, an event, an experience, a thought, an emotion, a belief, a paradigm, a program, whatever is popping up, it's a consciousness floating. Here it comes. And your job as a being of light standing in this dense physicality is to remember that there isn't any duality, that there is no right or wrong, bad, good. It just is. And there is nothing that you have to do. So here's the thing about the ascension journey. We are taught, because we are in a linear time-space continuum, we're taught that there are things for us to do. You have to do these things to get there. That's duality. You have to clear these things to get here. That's duality. You know, I do the same thing, right? I'm stuck in this as well. I do it as well. This is why it's such an important message that I wanted to get out, because it was something new that I'd never heard before, which is that there is nothing for us to do. There's nothing to do. And this is going to be very challenging for a lot of us, because we have been taught and programmed that, especially in the ascension journey, that there's things we're supposed to be doing. We have to clear, we have to heal, we have to purge, we have to shift, right? We have to move, we have to do these things. And that is what creates the struggle and the suffering. That creates the judgments. Doing creates suffering. Doing creates judgments, because you're trying to get somewhere that you're not, even if it's inside of you. Okay, you can have the belief, and that belief is true. It's all inside of you, but you're still trying to get somewhere inside of you, right? As opposed to just being in the now, floating in the quantum, and whatever comes up, you recognize it as a consciousness that's coming up. It's being it, whatever that is, including an experience you have with somebody, right? It just is popping up, and it's like, oh, look at all of these things that are created around this experience in this now moment that's popping up as I'm moving around in the quantum field. And if I remember that I'm in the quantum field, what that means is that everything just is. Can I look at that everything as it just is? And this is challenging when you are looking out in a third dimensional consciousness with a lot of really dense consciousness being played out right now. How can you look at trauma, pain, torture as raping of the earth? How can you look at that as just is? But it actually just is. It too is in a quantum space. It too is just doing and being its signature consciousness. It's playing out what it wants to and chooses to experience. And from a much larger perspective, there's no judgment in that. And when we can stand, and when we come back into the micro world, our own sovereign space, when you can start to watch yourself in every now moment and notice, am I trying to do something? Am I trying to go somewhere? Am I trying to be something? Am I judging myself against someone else, right? when we've got to get clear on this concept of duality, this concept of good, bad, right, wrong. There is nothing wrong with uncomfortable emotions. Nothing. We judge them because we live in duality. We don't like them because we live in duality. We want to get rid of them because we live in duality. What happens when you stop living in duality and that uncomfortable experience, emotion, thought comes up? Guess what? It just comes up and it leaves a lot faster. So it's this analogy of floating down a river in a boat or in a canoe, okay? And the canoe is your body. And the light being is the light being is the person sitting in the boat, right? So your light being is sitting in the boat. Your light being is sitting in your body. Your body knows how to navigate this density. That canoe and boat knows how to navigate the waters. It's designed to, and it's going to just naturally move through the currents. And as it naturally moves through the currents, it's going to bump against rocks. It's going to bump up against trees in the water, right? Maybe it'll get stuck a little bit, but it'll get pushed. The current's always going to push it. The water is the quantum field, okay? The rocks, the trees, the dirt, the stuff that it gets stuck in, that's third dimensional consciousness, right? And as you are sitting in that boat, the more you can relax and just put your hands back and say, wow, I'm just going to watch this process unravel because I know that this boat is going to get me down the river. I don't have any anxiety. I don't have any fear. I'm relaxing. I'm watching the bumping of the rock. Oh, wow, that was bumpy. I got wet, right? I don't judge the rock. I don't say, how could you possibly do this to me, rock? I don't say, ooh, I don't want to feel that rock. Let me try to navigate away from that rock. And then you're putting all this effort into navigating into the rock as if there's something wrong with the rock. The rock is just doing the rock's experience, which is being there. There's nothing wrong with it. We have to start to kind of look at our reality now through the quantum lens, which is floating down the canoe as the light being that you are, inside a physical form, surrounded by three-dimensional. We can't get out of the third-dimensional consciousness for a while. We're here. So we have to accept it. We're not going to get rid of this up and down roller coaster for a while, right? We have to accept it. The struggle comes when we don't want something that we're experiencing because we are judging it in duality. The suffering comes when we are fighting that which is in front of us that pops up, when we ignore that what pops up, when we deny that what pops up, when we try to shift out of that what pops up. And we are taught that we're supposed to do it by going into certain energy centers, right? Or opening up certain energy centers, or there's things that we're supposed to be doing in order to shift. Right? We're supposed to be doing these things, experiencing these things. And all that does is separates us even more from our now moment. Because, oh my God, I'm not experiencing what they're talking about. Oh my God, I'm not feeling what they're talking about. Then you deny what's coming up in your now moment. You're denying what you're experiencing as you're floating down that river. The more you can soften, surrender, let go of everything that comes up, and you see it just as consciousness, including arguments that you get into, money situations that you have, fears, anxieties, depression, all of it. There's nothing wrong or bad about it. Now, energetically, it doesn't necessarily feel good, right? So when you're in this dense consciousness, you feel certain experiences or consciousnesses, you feel certain consciousnesses differently. And that's what creates the feeling of, ugh, I don't like the depression feeling. The depression feeling isn't fun. So you can feel that energetic consciousness hitting your energetic field, and it creates a response in you. That's okay. That's natural. That's energy hitting energy, right? A fear consciousness feels very different against your energetic field than a love consciousness, which is why we want the love consciousness more, which is what creates the suffering. So if you can start to look at the consciousness is hitting you and the response that you're having energetically, and then not judging or labeling it. Oh, you're watching it and observing it. Oh, look, fear comes in, fear pops in, or depression pops in, anxiety pops in, right? Or bubbles up from within. Either pops in from somewhere else outside or pops in here, right? Oop, here it comes. And then you feel it and you recognize as a third dimensional dense consciousness what your energetic field experiences. And that's it. You're observing it. You're in the quantum field. That anxiety is just doing what anxiety does in this large spectrum of consciousness. That anxiety is just doing anxiety. That rock is just doing the rock thing. Sure, it hurt when I bumped up against it. It got me wet. I'm freezing cold now. But it was just doing its thing. And what happens is if you remember that shifting consciousness, shifting into higher frequencies naturally happens. It's naturally happening. And so there isn't anything for us to do. What if that was true? What if it was true that there really isn't anything that we have to do other than being as present as we possibly can without judging ourselves, without attaching to anything, without making anything wrong? What if a light being that's in a much higher frequency came down right now and said, beloved, dear one, courageous light being in human form, stop doing, stop trying to be anything other than who you are in this now moment. And you will move through this shift much easier. Starting to step out of duality and this third dimensional consciousness while you're still remaining in it is a massive undertaking, and you're capable of doing it. You're capable of seeing that in a quantum space, you are both in this third dimensional cloud of consciousness and in the quantum realm where everything that ever is, will, and can be experienced is. It just all is. And there's no judgment around any of it. And as these higher dimensional beings are kind of supporting and looking down and watching us, they are lovingly trying to get us to recognize that the more we can let go of trying to do or be anything, the more we can love ourselves through every consciousness that comes up. Just let it. This process of being a human is designed to be simple. Humans make it complex. Humans make things very complicated. The more present we get, the more we just allow whatever to come up, the more we do not attach to it, put a label on it, say it's right or wrong, get me out of this, let me stay in this. You don't want to stay in anything and you don't want to get out of anything. You just want to let it move. You just watch it so it moves. You're in the quantum. So you're floating in this field and there's 1,000 million consciousnesses, an infinite amount of consciousnesses that you are absolutely unequivocally going to tap into because you're in the field. You're in a third dimensional field amongst the quantum. So you're going to bump into, you can't escape. We can't escape those experiences, those emotions, those thoughts we don't like. And the more we try to escape out of it, the more we are judging, criticizing, and getting upset with ourselves. And yet there's nowhere to go. We're in this consciousness. And until the human has anchored the physical form into the fifth dimension, you are still going to be experiencing third dimensional consciousness for a while. Because that's where the human form is. And fourth dimensional consciousness. And fourth dimensional consciousness still holds aspects of duality. So don't deny the consciousness that you're in, because it's a beautiful gift. It's the juice of being human. The juice of being human is feeling all of this juiciness. The love, the fear, the hate, the joy, the suffering and the peace and the serenity, right? All of that is part of the human's third dimensional experience. But if you can start to step into a now moment and start to live from the perspective of the quantum, then you don't make anything right or wrong. Everything just becomes it. It is. Isness. It just is. Oh, depression's coming up. That just is. It's okay. Because if you recognize that you're in the quantum space, that you're a higher dimensional light being in a physical body, in a physical vessel, experiencing a third dimensional cloud of consciousness within the quantum field, anything that's coming up is not you. Depression isn't you. Anxiety isn't you. Fear isn't you. Joy isn't you. Happiness isn't you. It's you experiencing that consciousness. Right? It's just you experiencing consciousness. So we learn to not label it, right? You start stepping out into the quantum and you don't label things. The other thing that happens when we start to step into and recognize the quantum field around us is that we then start to recognize that in the same now moment that something is coming up, there's an infinite possibility of other things that may come up. And you're a creator being. So although you're staying very present and allowing whatever it is to come up, you also have the ability to create, right? So you have the ability to say, oh, I'm going to pull in a little bit of this. I'm going to pull in a little bit of this. And when I say pull in, right, it's in you already. So you have a quantum universe within you. You are the quantum field inside of yourself, right? So in a linear perspective, I speak of it as if it's outside of us and all around us, but it's also within us. But what you want to pay attention to is, am I trying to feel or experience something so that I'm not experiencing what's in the now moment coming up? For instance, let's say you're having a lot of anger and rage on a certain day, right? What a lot of humans do is they'll say to themselves, this is not a good frequency or consciousness to have. This means I'm not, shifting. There's something wrong with me. Let me try to shift out of it by moving into my heart center. Let me try to think positive thoughts so that I'm not feeling the rage and anger. That is trying to do something or be something so that you're not experiencing what's coming up and floating in front of you. As opposed to, oh, I've got anger and rage. Great. I'm feeling anger and rage. It's just the consciousness that's coming around me. It doesn't mean I'm bad. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. It means I'm perfectly fine and I'm a divine creator of my now moment. I'm a divine being in a quantum field. Just because anger and rage is coming up doesn't mean anything. There's no attachment to it. It just is. It's just coming up. Let it come up. You're in a field of dense consciousness that holds a huge amount of fear, holds a huge amount of anger, holds a huge amount of rage, holds a huge amount of those denser consciousnesses. There's nothing wrong with it. So you watch it and then you say, is there another aspect of consciousness that I could feel at this moment at the same time? Maybe. Is there a joy that I can tap into? Maybe. If you're honest with yourself, a lot of the times when you are feeling denser consciousnesses, trying to feel a different consciousness that's in a higher vibration is challenging. And therein lies the struggle, the suffering, the judgment, the labels on yourself. If we're just honest with what's coming up, then we just allow it to be and it goes away really damn fast. When it stays is when we're fighting with it and trying to get out of it. Let me try to positive think my way out of it. Let me try to move into a heart-centered space to get out of the fear, to get out of the rage, to get out of the anger. Let me move into love to get out of the anger. And all that's going to do is there's going to be a duality. You're playing in duality. Well, here comes rage. I must find love. Well, that's duality, right? So what you want to do is watch the fear or the rage or the anger or the whatever anxiety be. It just is. It's not staying and it's not you. It's coming up. And then if you have the desire or the resonance to also tap into joy, peace, or love, meaning I'm driving my car and I'm getting really frustrated and angry with the cars around me, right? And then that anger is just sort of building around me on a consciousness, and I'm starting to get more irritated, right? And you can do a couple different things. You can sit in that kind of irritation, right? And just allow it to be. Now, when I say sit in it, I'm not meaning that you dive into it and play in it. I'm just meaning that you allow it to be and you just observe. So from the quantum field, that anger and that irritation is just you playing in the third dimensional consciousness. Look at me, I'm just playing in this consciousness that allows me to experience irritation. Wow, I'm a light being in physical form experiencing irritation. What does that irritation feel like? Not so great. Okay, would I rather be feeling love right now while I'm driving? Sure, but am I feeling love right now while I'm driving? No, okay. Can I tap into love at the same time? Sure. Can I tap into joy at the same time? Sure, you can try, right? And you can play with that. You can play with tapping into, but you don't want to do anything to get out of or to escape, because that anxiety is still going to be there if you're trying to escape out of it. If you try to turn your back and walk away from it. I'm not feeling this, I'm not feeling this, I'm going to shift, I'm going to shift, I'm going to feel something else, I'm going to feel something else, I'm going to feel something else. I'm going to trick myself, right? There's nothing wrong with anything. There's nothing wrong with anything. There's nothing right with anything. There's nothing good or bad about any consciousness. It's just how the third dimensional human labels everything and feels and experiences it. And the more you can fall into this and remember this, the more you're in the quantum realm and the easier it is to move through your life. I'm telling you this based on what I do all the time. I'm not telling you this because it might work. I'm telling you this because this is what I have been practicing. And when they come in and share this information with me, I practice it. I become an observer of what they're teaching me. Hey, Lori, start to recognize this, this, this. And then I start to recognize it. And then I start to practice it in my now moment. And then I start to realize, holy shit, this stuff just comes and goes. Life gets a lot easier. Now, life gets a lot easier is duality. I'm okay with that, right? And life gets a lot easier means that I'm not attaching to anything I'm experiencing in any now moment. So what does that mean? It means that if I'm having a moment where I want to give up and I just want to stop doing my work, right? I'm exhausted, because that does happen. What do? I feel that and I watch it. I observe it. I'm like, wow, look at the consciousness I'm feeling. Look at what I'm feeling in this now moment. Look at what's coming up. I'm watching it almost like a spectator, right? Look at what's coming up. Look at what I'm... Now, I don't say to myself, oh, I better go sit and meditate and get out of this. Or, oh, I better go do something to get out of this. Or, how do I get out of this? This isn't good. I shouldn't be feeling this, right? Other people aren't feeling this, whatever it may be, right? No, This is just, I know, based on my own experience, that it's going to shift quickly if I just allow it to be. And that's exactly what happens. Rarely do I experience any consciousness for a long period of time. Rarely. It's like I'm floating down the river and I just bump. I don't deny anything that comes up, ever. I don't attach to it and grab it. I don't label it, and I don't make myself feel bad. I don't beat myself up. I don't say that I'm not doing it right, or I'm bad, or I'm not fast, I'm not accelerating enough, or there's something wrong with me if I'm feeling these things. There's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with any dense consciousness that you're feeling in any now moment in the ascension journey. Nothing. It's in those judgments that we stay stuck in this very dense linear field. The second you can get out of it and move into the quantum, there's freedom, there's expansion, there's an okay with everything. You start to look at your consciousness and what you're navigating from a higher perspective, from the way these higher dimensional beings that are watching us right now experience it, which is with non-judgment, with neutrality, with ease and grace. So that's the message, you guys, about the quantum field. And can we start to let go of trying to do and be? Watch in your everyday life how often you're trying to do something, like get somewhere. Because there's a fear that if you're not doing something or moving towards something, then you're not doing anything and nothing's happening. That's not how energy works. You are always slowly shifting. And the easiest way and the fastest way to shift is to allow whatever is coming into your field, consciousness-wise, you let it be. You just look at it as the observer and let it float through you, through feeling it, seeing it, loving it, no judgment, no attachment, no trying to do anything with it. If you start to try to live this way, just try it. It might actually assist you in relaxing a little bit more. Not so much pressure on yourself. Not so much like strict sort of like, this is how you do it. Why am I not? Anyone that says that these are the rules or these are the ways and this is what you should be feeling, any should word that comes out of your mouth or anyone else's mouth, you want to be careful of. There's no such thing in the quantum. It all just is. It all just is. So whatever you're experiencing right now, it's perfect. It's okay. There's nothing wrong. You can't escape this, you guys. We can't escape this. We can't escape this cloud of consciousness. You just can't. And you can try to bypass it as much as you want, but the way you actually shift frequency, the way you actually anchor into the next dimension is to just be in the now moment that you're in through love, surrender, softness, non-judgment, no attachment. Don't judge. Try not to judge. Try to do a day where you don't judge anything that comes into your field. Just try it. Don't judge. It's very challenging. But when you start learning to not judge, when you start learning to not attach, when you start learning to not stay in that spectrum of duality, you just allow whatever it is and then it moves. It's that simple. It's that easy. It's that simple. Whatever's coming up for you is okay. The question that a lot of you guys may have is, why is it continuing to come up? Well, it's massively dense in your physical form and it needs to continue to come up. Who cares? I don't know why. Don't worry about the why. The why is attachment. Why am I still feeling this? You're attached to it. Why is this still coming up? You're attached to it, right? It's okay. We're going to ask the questions why. We're going to ask the questions how. We're going to ask the questions when, because we're human in this consciousness, in this density. But be aware, observe yourself, and then let go of the question. Let go of the answer. Let go. It's challenging for us to let go and to not be in control, right? The quantum field is in control. Our higher selves and I am presence are in control because they understand how the quantum works. So you want to watch what you're saying, and then the more you can surrender into the now, be in it, allow it to just move. So you don't jump into it, right? I say this all the time because there's a difference. You don't jump into it and get in bed with it, put the covers over you, and just sit in that consciousness, anxiety, fear, rage, whatever. You're just floating down the river. And if it's a rock that's floating with you for a while, then it's floating with you for a while. It's not in the boat with you. It's not you. But you're connecting to it. It's coming up. It's being shown. You're feeling it. Okay, great. That's it. Continue with your day. Remember, you're in a quantum realm, which means that even as you are experiencing that rage or that depression or that anxiety, there are also other consciousnesses around you that if you want to tap into and experience, you can, as long as you're consciously not trying to do it to get out of. So it's like you're holding all of it. You're holding all of it. It's very challenging to do, you guys, because we are in such a dense consciousness and there's such a massive spectrum to feel. It's very hard to hold anxiety and love at the same time, but you can do it. You can hold love and anxiety at the same time. You can hold fear and love at the same time. You can hold joy and depression at the same time. When you're in a quantum realm, you can hold all of these at the same time. You have access to it. You have access to all of it. You just don't want to turn your back on depression or anxiety or anger and jump into fear, joy, love, joy, peace, and ignore what's coming up, right? You want to hold all of it. You want to hold all of it. Here I am going through my day. I woke up, I have anxiety. Okay, great. I'm just going to let anxiety be. I'm going to let it be. I'm not judging it. I'm not making it wrong. I'm just going to let it be because I'm in the quantum field. So I know that I have access to all kinds of other stuff as well. Can I tap into joy? Let me see. Is there any joy anywhere? Gratitude? Something that I can tap into? Here's anxiety. I'm not getting rid of it. Here it is. It's okay. It's part of the party. It's in the quantum, so it's part of the party. But can I also tap into other things that are in the party? Not throwing this away, not trying to get out of this, just being part of the party. It's all part of the party. Oh, I have a little gratitude for this. I'm grateful for this. I'm excited for this coming up, right? But there's still anxiety. That's okay. This will eventually just start to float through. Maybe you pick up some other consciousness in the quantum throughout your day. Maybe you pick up another sort of consciousness that feels good, right? There's all kinds of stuff that you're picking up throughout your day. You're just not attaching to any of it. And you're not trying to escape one for the other, right? You don't ever try to escape out of joy to move into anger. So why do the opposite? We do it because it doesn't feel good. But the only reason it doesn't feel good is because it's a consciousness that we're energetically tapping into that on an energetic level is like, ugh, we don't like that, right? But it's okay. It's okay. It just is. It's just being itself. It's just being the consciousness, right? So remember you're in the quantum. Remember that you have access to all of these different consciousnesses. Remember that you're in a density that creates duality. Remember that when you start attaching to something and trying to do something, that you're going to create more suffering and struggle, that you're going to create more judgments around yourself, right? And attachments. And you don't want to. You want to try to just be neutral. You want to just try to be in now moment. You want to try to recognize that you have access to so much. You have access to so much. And when you try to get out of something to move into something better, you're still in duality. Anytime you try to get out of something to feel something different, you're in duality. Anytime you try to get out of one feeling to feel something else because it feels better, you're in duality. So you want to just allow whatever's coming up that you don't like to just be, and then tap into something else. Hold it all. When you're in a quantum realm, you can hold it all. You can hold everything. And that's what we're learning to do as multidimensional beings, is hold it all. Hopefully this was helpful in some way. Hopefully this was understandable in some way. Quantum field is very simple and easy, even though it is complex. It's very easy to kind of step into, right? So I invite all of us to begin to play in the quantum because we already know how to, because we're higher dimensional beings stuck in a dense form, trying to remember all this. So this is just a message of reminding you of what you already know. This is a message of reminding you of what you've already played in for gosh knows how many years. There's no such thing as years in the quantum. There's no such thing as years in a higher dimensional field. It's all now. The second you split from source, you began to play in quantum realm. You understand it, you know how it works. Now we're just starting to step into it from a very dense consciousness. And so away we go. We're going to go have fun. I love you all so much. Let me know if you have any questions down below. Like my video if you liked it. Pass it on if you know anyone that would benefit from listening to it. And I'll see you guys next time. Be gentle with yourselves. I love you.